But here's the point of the story. The point of this sermon is to try to equip you with what's necessary so that you don't enter into temptation with a weak structure, with a weak process, in order that you now will fail when the weight of temptation comes upon you. But as we look at this scripture, it can equip you with what's necessary, that no matter how great the weight of temptation, you'll be able to bear it. And the first point is that you have to be conscious of your circumstance, is that we need to learn from the past. That's why we have to be conscious of our circumstance. We have to know what goes on around us. Here's the thing. If we learn from the past, if you see somebody else mess up, don't do the same thing. That's the simple message. Don't do the same thing. Second thing, if you see somebody else mess up, don't talk about them. Don't put them down. Don't kick them to the curb. Why? Because you could fail at number one. And you might end up doing the same thing. And if you don't do the same thing, you'll end up doing something similar. That yes, you might be standing on strong ground now, but it's precarious ground. Because we all live in the flesh. And by being in the flesh, we are all susceptible to falling. The challenge that you have is common. Here's the thing about temptation. We are not alone. What the devil tries to get you to think is that you're the only one being tempted. You're not the first person tempted, and you won't be the last. Here's what temptation is, to make sure that we are clear. Temptation, especially in this context, is an enticement to sin. Temptation, whether arising from our own desires or from the outward circumstances. Here's the thing. That's why you have to be conscious of your circumstances, because there is nothing new that Satan can do. All sin is rooted in one of three things: the lust of the eye, the lust of the flesh, or the pride of life. All sin is rooted in our possessions, our passions, and our pride. So there's nothing new that Satan can throw at you. There's nothing new that he can give to you, because everyone has desires and circumstances which beg us to sin. That you don't want to put yourself in a circumstance where it's hard to resist temptation. Here's the thing. Just because it's common, it doesn't make it easy. Just because it's common, it doesn't make it the same. It just means that we all face our various temptations. Here's a secret about the devil. The devil knows man, but he doesn't know you. Let me explain that. Devil is not omnipotent. He doesn't have all power. The devil is not omniscient. He doesn't have all knowledge. So he doesn't know how you will respond to a temptation. Don't believe me? Go back and read the story of Job again. He thought he could trick Job because he didn't know how Job was going to respond. He doesn't know how you are going to respond. But here's what the devil does. All he does is he keeps lobbing things out to you until you respond. And as soon as he sees you respond, because we're all different, then he'll keep lobbing that same thing at you. He'll create situations and scenarios, and until you respond, he doesn't know what your issue is. But as soon as you begin to respond, then he'll keep putting that issue in your face until you learn how to bear it. Here's the third point, that escape is certain. That even though we face temptation, because we have a faithful God who loves us, because we have a God that extends to us grace and mercy, because the God is faithful to us, this is what he says. He won't let the temptation be more than you can handle.